All right, y'all, let's get into the birth of John and the birth of Jesus and the Messiah and Trump being cast from the high place in Colorado and the ballot box. That's that bow, the divided by the bowels and the nation made from the divide. And let's tie some things in together for you because we've had that legal earthquake and that political spectrum going on, and the nation is saying, we're going to leave him off. And then now Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, they're talking about leaving Biden off the thing. So as this stuff is coming together, the divide of the nation is upon America. And as the petrodollar is done, the petrodollar is there for the beastmen and such, and there's the BRICS now that's come out, and the BRICS is basically there to whack the back of the head of the sheep, and it's probably going to kill a lot of them, or it's going to knock them out long enough to where they're sunk down to the bottom of the water, and they realize that they're underwater, and they got to try and get out of it. And when you're a sheep or whatever, the barn has the goats, the chicken, the sheep, and the cow in there. And all these animals are down at the bottom of the water. When the flood, the currency exchange comes, and the petrodollar is no longer used on January 1, when Saudi Arabia or whatever, and eventually just starts coming back. Boom, 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 boom. And that's when that dam is broken over as far as the money, and that's when trillions start flowing back. And then from the time of John, the Christmas, then we got Xmas in July. Okay, all these things are there for a reason, because we have the northern and southern hemisphere. So the northern hemisphere Christmas, you have to have a southern hemisphere Christmas too. All right. So this is where we see the birth of John now, and then we'll see the Messiah that comes from that, because John comes as a sign of his coming, okay? And then the three kings of Orient would be coming, and this can be from the East Coast side, or it can be from China, from Kim Jong-un, the John Gun. He's the little rocket man. But the sign of his coming would be Kim Jong-un, because what he would be doing is he's part of taking down the bully on the playground. And since America is that big bully in a matter of speaking, it's going through a divide and a change. So this is when the bully's limping around, okay? And then that's the time to strike. And I told you America's going to be hit when we're weak. So it's going to be during that time of divide, and it could be as soon as this. And this first couple things will lead into the next couple things, and those next couple things will be a self-feeding organism to bring in that 24 and 25 Christmas Eve and Christmas spirit. Okay, so right now you're in that Christmas rush, that 23, and then next year you have the 22 and 23 and the 24. So that's where you kind of have a collapse of time and a multi-spectrum in years all coming in one time. And then that will feed into the 25 Christmas spirit, and so on, okay? And then that feeds us from the 22 to the 26, which is 26 to the 26 on 9/11, which is 27 and 28. And that ties into Trump being 82, and then that where he takes. So basically, there's been people that have gone into the promised land, and that promised land was in 2021 with the lockdowns and such. And the AI came on, and the digital currencies was going up, and then the digital currencies went down, and there's just different things playing out in different ways, okay? But it's showing you different things because we're in that final phase. So as the promised land came and the people, the promise was not what they thought it was, because they've been taught this, that, and the other. And when Jesus comes, just like when the Antichrist comes, to be birthed in that way to bring the dark days. That's when he's birthed, and it's done in a way where they don't know it, just like Jesus came and they didn't know it. So this is where Trump is being born in that barn, and he's being cast down. And then out of this, he's going to create that divide in that nation out of this. I meant to, either way, I'm having a brain fart there. So as these 3 days tell us stuff, and then it's a stack on time, so it can show us how once the ball drops in 2024 and the dollars start coming back, that's just a startup, and then that's a kind of a self-feeding mechanism, and then just goes from there. And then the war stacking up is going to affect the oil. And okay, folks, so it's where we can see the false prophet being set up by a certain time. And so as these 3 days, the sun's going into the darkness, the lower parts of the earth, and then he starts to rise again. This is where we could maybe see on the Christmas day that a manger is the AM anger, or the am anger for Trump. But this is where people would wake up. It's that Monday kind of event, and the Monday is the money day. But people wake up Monday, Christmas Day, or the Tuesday or whatever. But and it starts preparing for the BRICS, for Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Ethiopia and the UAE, for all that to break loose. And the UAE is connected to the United Artists Theater for that shit to break loose. So right now, Trump is bringing in the new, but he's taking out the old. So there's mushrooms in the forest on the mushy that is going. They have the old tree break, and then they have to plant the new one. Okay, so this is where that fungi is there, or the mushrooms everywhere are there, mushroom clouds and such. But that new tree is to come, and that new heaven and earth and all those things, and it's already been seeded and watered, and it's ready to come up. And the rainbow goes from one treasure to another treasure, from one X to another X. The crib is made out of usually like maybe two X's, a cross and a cross brought together with some parallel beams, and that'd be kind of like that parallel economy or kind of thing, with some haystacks in there with the baby on top. But as John is a sign of his coming, and then the Messiah and Jesus and all these things play out and come here, it's going to take the church and the religions of the world or whatever to understand what's just happened. And Jesus has been here, and the Antichrist has been here, and whatever else. So as the Antichrist comes, as Jesus comes, the nations are divided, the nations are gathered. Some are going to the cross, some are going to the tomb, some are going to the heavens. The kingdom of Jesus is inside of us, or the kingdom of heaven is inside of us. I mean to say, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is right here. Okay? We just have to find it. And it's not there in those churches where they're teaching you the law. Jesus said, beware of those people. So as the sun goes into the belly, as the Baal worship comes on, the ballot box, the ox, all right, and that's the Baal lit for the fire, for that Bud Light that's going, for that hell on fire getting stoked, because that's that ballot, the second match, it's been lit up, all right. This will make sense if you go back and listen to the other videos, folks. So as it goes from the rainbow, the sun, the baby sun, goes from one X to another X. All right, that's where we can see the X-Files comes out, and it comes out in a different way. And then out of the ashes, he rises, and he comes in as the dark night, the musk, the dusk, after the heat of the day, and all those things. And then the church is going to view Elon Musk as an antichrist. They're going to view... They're just going to be so delusional. They're going to see all the wrong people for the most part. So, let me check these notes here, see if I'm hitting on my points. The prophet Isaiah comes. That Isaiah, that's the is AI. And he's coming as a sign to tell you about Jesus or whatever. And this is part of that millennial coming or whatever. But that's one aspect. And then, so the birth of John, this can relate to Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-gun, the little rocket man. Or it can relate to like John Kerry. We've seen John Kerry coming up and those types of things, but just different Johns. We'll see more Johns. But the Kim Jong-un relates us to the universe, and where you'd have the first UN event, and then you'd have the UN after that, where the UN has to come into America and help America later on or whatever, because we've always helped the other nations, and then we come back to where the flip is, and it all comes back to that time frame where we need help. The anointed one, that divine intervention to show you the Messiah is on its way and being born and whatever. That is happening when Colorado and California is talking about following suit, but they're doing that divine intervention, saying we're not going to allow this, that, or the other. And then we see the other states following suit doing that, this, that, or the other. Okay, so we're seeing the divide happen in a little bit of a different way. And then we can see later on how the money and these different things can start, where Texas can start succeeding, and where the steel is coming on, the man of steel, to where we have all this shit going on, and then he proves this, that, and the other. But anyways, we can see how it's all stacking. All right, and then as it stacks, and as they say this and the other, then it all comes down to at that very end where it's shit. All right. But the point is that the stars are being shown in the sky. The stars are being shown on your TV. They're all aligning. Everything's going together. And Trump is coming for his promised land. And that promised land are the people who are upset that missed prom. They're all going down to these states that stood up against COVID and whatever else. And it's all a bait and switch. Okay? And you're all hooked in the net. And once you figure out how to get out, you're going to break that window into heaven that's been set up in Babylon. And as Jerusalem is being bombarded, the Israelites are stuck in Babylon, and we'll get into a part 2.